In that case, how do you propose the defendant left the crime scene?
Simple. The footage only shows Prosecutor Blackwell from behind. What's more, he's holding his arm in front of his body, as if he were holding something. Or someone. Athena's small, but at 11 years old, she's not that small. She's not a hamster. There's hardly evidence. I have proof. The surcoat Prosecutor Blackwell was wearing. The victim's blood was found on the front of it, and the stain had a highly distinctive shape.
A blood stain with a distinctive shape? Please continue, Prosecutor Edgeworth. Was it the shape of a sandwich?
No. 7 years ago, the defendant was known to constantly wear a certain item, of which there was only one in the world, a special pair of headphones made just for her that made her look like a bunny rabbit. She always wore these big, heavy-looking headphones. She said her mother made them for her as part of her research. I didn't realize that was Juniper. Analysis showed the bloodstain to be in the exact same shape as these headphones. In other words, this was no mere blood splatter. The blood went from the victim's body to the headphones, and then was imprinted onto Prosecutor Blackwell's coat like a stamp.
A most gruesome stamp indeed.
Blackwell carried Miss Sykes, who had been hit by splatter, away from the crime scene. This proved that Athena Sykes was, without question, present at the crime scene. And that concludes the prosecution's argument.
Edgeworth! Order! If the defendant was indeed at the scene, it deepens the suspicion against her.
Objection!
But we've also shown that the robot was there at the scene as well.
Objection!
I hope you're not making the ridiculous claim that a simple robot was the real murderer. I don't really think that, no, but you can't say the possibility isn't there. Detective Fulbright, was the robot questioned at the time? No, I don't see any record of it. I believe it was considered unrelated to the case. But as it turned out, the robot was actually integrally related. Your Honor, the defense would like to call PONCO to the stand.
Oh, robot witness?
You can try an 11-year-old as an adult if it's considered serious enough.
Order in the court. Prosecutor Edgeworth, what do you think about this?
Mr. Wright has called all manner of witnesses to the stand over the years, so why not a robot? Nothing surprises me anymore with that clown.
Very well. I will allow the witness. Bailiff, please summon the robot named PONCO.
Witness, please state your name and occupation.
My name is not Witness. My name is PONCO.
Yes, I realize that, but when you are at the witness stand, you are the witness.
No, I'm not. I'm PONCO. Stand with me, PONCO. P-O-N-C-O, PONCO.
What an utterly inflexible little robot! You're the last person who should be calling anybody inflexible. Ooh.
You remind me of my grandchild, who just learned his own name. Oh, how precious.
All right, PONCO, I'm going to ask you some questions.
Questions? You have questions? Hooray! What are your questions?
I want to know if you were there at the scene of the murder of Metis Sykes. It was 7 years ago, on the 7th of October, around 2 p.m., in the robotics lab.
Certainly. Just one moment. Searching data. Search complete. Yes, I was there in the robotics lab.
You were? Great. It would seem this robot's testimony is necessary to this case after all. This is great! I just knew PONCO must have seen something important.
A murder committed right before this poor little girl's eyes. It's inexcusable.
The judge seems ready to adopt PONCO as another grandchild.
So, little Ponco, do you think you can give us your testimony today? I could give you a robot cookie, which I assume is just like a bunch of metal.
I went to the robotics lab at about 2 p.m. for my regular recharge. Just as I was about to charge up, Athena came in and hugged Mommy Metis. And then Mommy Metis fell down. After that, I was recharging, so I don't know anything. After I charged up, I was cleaning the room, and Mr. Simon came in. And then an error occurred. There is no data after that point.
That is not good testimony for us.
Well, it sounds like the defendant was without question at the scene. However, it doesn't appear that the witness saw the actual moment of the murder.
I disagree. This testimony shows that the defendant did indeed commit the crime. What? At the end of the day, we mustn't forget that this witness is still a machine. Being a robot, its understanding and capacity to express itself are limited. Therefore, I can project onto them what I want to hear.
So what are you suggesting?
The witness's statements need to be interpreted. For example, the terms hugged and then later fell down. Adults don't usually fall down after being hugged by a child unless the hug is especially excellent, and this one probably wasn't.
They don't, but...
Yes, what this witness's statements are telling us is that the defendant stabbed the victim with the murder weapon during this moment. What? What? Yeah, exactly. Nobody's just ever hugged you, Edgeworth, so you don't know. You don't know what a hug is because you'll never know love. Before Miss Sykes hugged Dr. Sykes, did the two of them converse?
Yes, they did. They spoke to each other very loudly, but I don't know what they said. Athena is usually so quiet, so I was surprised.
Spoke very loudly. We can interpret this to mean they argued.
I see. Murder after a heated argument, and then the victim fell down. I agree that it does sound like a reasonable interpretation. However, Ponco doesn't seem to remember anything that happened after that.
When I am recharging, I go into sleep mode. Don't I remember everything before that? I have a very good memory. I recently updated my RAM.
You may as well admit defeat now, right? A cross-examination would be useless. Don't be ridiculous. A cross-examination is never useless. It's always how I win these things. Until now. Think about it. Robots don't lie. This robot is both an important witness and valuable evidence at the same time. Nevertheless, I will have my cross-examination. I see you haven't changed. You never were one to worry about wasting time.
Very well. Even if it may be a waste of time, you may proceed, Mr. Wright.
I'll show you both just how fruitful any cross-examination can be. That's a good reference to Access.
I went to the robotics lab at about 2 p.m. for my regular recharge.
Hold it! Okay. Your regular recharge. What is that exactly?
I have to refill my battery's power or else I stop working. I go to the lab to do that.
So that recharge occurred around 2 p.m., around the time of the murder.
That's right. I go every day at 2 p.m.
You think you do that at night, right? But whatever. Whatever. I don't make robots.
Just as I was about to charge up, Athena came in and hugged Mommy Metis.
Hold it! Hugged her, huh? Which Edgeworth took to mean stabbed her with a weapon, because that's what he thinks hugging is. You said the two of them were talking before Miss Sykes hugged her mother. Is that right?
Yes, they were talking very loudly, but I couldn't tell what they were saying.
Couldn't tell? Even though they were speaking so loudly?
I'm only allowed to listen to voices that are directed at me.
Really? If it listened to every voice, it would be little better than a mobile eavesdropper. Well, that explains why some of PONCO's testimony is so vague. It's a shame that our little friend wasn't listening in, however. We could have learned what they were talking about just before Dr. Sykes was killed. Now then, what happened after that?
And then Mommy Metis fell down. After that, I was recharging, so I don't know anything.
Okay, she fell down. I don't want to delve too deeply here, but could you tell us how the victim appeared and acted at this moment?
Mommy Metis was very surprised when she was hugged. I heard her heart pound.
Her heart? Mr. Wright, have you forgotten about this document we found in the robotics lab? These robots have a heartbeat detection system. Now that he mentions it, I do remember reading something like that there. They detect the presence of people by the sound of their heartbeats. But wait a minute. That means if Dr. Sykes really did die at this moment. PONCO, how was Dr. Sykes after she fell down? Could you still hear the sound of her heartbeat?
Let's see. The moment she felt her heart was pounding. After that, I don't know. I started recharging just then.
Of all the unlucky timing, if you'd heard anything after that, it could have possibly proved that the hug wasn't actually the moment of murder.
I'm very sorry. I'm afraid I don't know. I'm very sorry. Very sorry.
The robot is designed to go into sleep mode automatically, so it can't be helped. But it does appear it detected an increased heart rate at the moment of the stabbing. Objection? You don't know what is stabbing?
After Mommy Metis' heart started pounding in surprise, she fell by the window. It was the round window on the workbench side of the room.
The workbench, huh? That's important, I think. PONCO must be talking about that table to the right of where that giant robot is now. But there's no blood over there. Is there something critical in PONCO's statement just now? Yes? Your Honor, I believe this statement is critical. I'd like it added to her testimony.
Very well. PONCO, could you, do that thing that he said? That's a good little girl. What a good little not robot girl.
Mommy Metis fell down near the round window on the workbench side of the room.
Pressing that. Let's see. There are 2 round windows in the robotics lab. Which one did you mean?
The one on the right, near the hanging scroll. That hanging scroll was Mommy Metis' prized possession after her daughter and us. But definitely the scroll.
Okay. In the pictures of the crime scene from 7 years ago, there is definitely a hanging scroll and a Japanese theater mask hanging on the workbench side wall. But is there some problem with this statement?
After I charged up, I was cleaning the room when Mr. Simon came in.
That's definitely the statement that we're going to present evidence on. Let's go through the rest of his testimony and then circle back, because I want to see what else he has to say. Prosecutor Blackwell, I wonder what he went there for.
His objective? I don't know.
I guess I can't very well ask PONCO to speculate. So what happened after Prosecutor Blackwell arrived?
And then an error occurred. There is no data after that point.
An error? You don't remember what happened next? An error, huh? I wonder if...
All data is suddenly cut off at that point. I don't know anything after that.
I bet you got disassembled. The answer to that question is right here. According to the defense's theory, this photo shows when the robot was being taken apart. Exactly. We can conclude that PONCO's error was the result of her being dismantled. Indeed. The bodies of these robots are designed to be controlled remotely by a separate computer. Yes, that's basically what Ms. Blackwell explained to us too. She said their hearts and memories are stored on a separate computer. When the witness was taken apart, she lost the use of her body, but not her memories. That's how she is now still able to give testimony about the events of that day.
Fascinating. It's as if she can be seriously wounded, but her soul still burns.
There are a few parts of PONCO's testimony that are hard to interpret. Edgeworth chose to interpret hugged as stabbed, but I better try to iron out who did what where and to whom for myself. Hold on, Athena. I'm going to save you. Alright, so the big thing we added was fell down to the window on the workbench side of the room. But so it's either going to be the photo of the crime, which shows them on the wrong side of the room. Probably this, because where she was murdered was opposite of that. What else do we have in here? Oh, it is probably definitely this one, because this shows the two different sides of the room. So I think this is what we present.
Objection!
Yep. PONCO, your statement may have just inspired a breakthrough.
I was hopeful. Hooray! I'm so happy.
Just to be sure, let's go over it again, okay? The victim fell near the window on the workbench side of the room. However, her body was discovered on the operating table.
But the operating table and the workbench are two different locations.
Exactly, Your Honor. We've just learned a new crucial fact. What could explain the two very different locations of the body? I'll tell you what. The victim moved. Because there's no blood over there. I think it's gotta be that. An 11-year-old girl couldn't have moved the heavy body of an adult. So the only explanation is that the victim walked to the operating table herself. In other words, what PONCO observed near the workbench couldn't possibly have been the moment of the murder.
Phew, I'm very relieved to hear that. Glad to know that the murder wasn't committed in front of poor little PONCO here.
Yes, as we just heard in the testimony, Miss Sykes hugged her mother, nothing more.
Objection!
Right. It's been 8 years, but you're still just as green as ever.
Green? But I can't recall ever seeing Mr. Wright in anything but a blue suit.
Hey, blue's my favorite color. What can I say? If the defendant couldn't move the body herself, she could have had it moved for her. Moved for her? But Miss Sykes and Dr. Sykes were the only ones there. I agree, since this robot is equipped with a heartbeat detection system. It would have been aware of another person's presence if someone else had been there. We can therefore conclude that the defendant and the victim were the only ones present.
Then who do you suggest moved the body?
Don't you know it's in the nature of a robot to help people do things? Miss PONCO, allow me to ask you a question.
My name is PONCO. Say it with me. P-O-N-C-O, PONCO.
I believe you said you were cleaning after Dr. Sykes fell down. Did you happen to move something large onto the operating table?
Yes, I did. Athena asked me to.
Athena asked you to?
And what did you move, little PONCO?
I don't know. Unless something has an ID tag, I can't tell what it is.
But you can tell faces! You can look at faces and tell.
An ID tag, you say?
Yes, a tag with a barcode on it. We robots scan them to tell us what a thing is.
That paper in the lab did mention something about that. Recognize the people by scanning their spacesuit or uniform jacket ID tag, it said. So it would appear that Miss PONCO here can't identify what it moved.
My name is PONCO. P-O-N-C-O, PONCO.
But we humans have the power to imagine what it was, do we not? Imagine? You don't get to imagine in court.
We do.
It's called conjecture and objection. Well, I do at the very least. Miss PONCO, on the defendant's command, moved the body onto the operating table. PONCO, did you really move Dr. Sykes' body? This is really important. Isn't there any way you could tell?
I don't know. Without an ID tag, I can't tell.
Give it up right. If the victim's heart was stopped, the robot's detection system would be useless. Furthermore, Dr. Sykes usually wore her white coat while she was working. She kept the jacket with her ID tag on it, draped over a chair in the robotics lab. Oh, well, we saw that. We saw the thing. And only wore it for special occasions. It was in the room! In other words, the victim wasn't wearing her ID tag at the time. From the robot's point of view, her body was simply just another object.
Objection!
Who's bluffing here, Edgeworth? It's not me. But PONCO's equipped with a facial recognition system. If she really did move the victim, she would have recognized the body as Dr. Sykes. But she didn't, so that means... A face can easily be covered with a piece of cloth. Hi, Kenshiro. A mask or anything else for that matter. With her facial features hidden, the robot wouldn't be able to tell it was Dr. Sykes. He's right. To summarize, Miss Sykes stabbed her mother near the workbench. Then, using the robot, she moved the body to the table where she removed the sword and was stained in blood.
Order. But if that's the case, then I have a question. Why did the defendant move the body to the operating table in the first place?
You want a reason? Very well. What? You can't possibly have an explanation. Your emotions blind you to the truth. You could learn a lot from our robot friends. Calm and rational thought will open your eyes to the truth in front of you, Mr. Wright. Now then, do you remember the operating table's one special feature?
I believe I read that robots can be assembled and disassembled there. Isn't that right?
That's right, and to the defendant, who was just a child at the time, the table was like a magic box that could make robots appear or disappear in seconds. But in the end, my mom just put her on the operating table and fixed her in a flash. I was so impressed by what my mom did. I even asked her if she would put me on the table and fix me if I ever got hurt. It looked just like magic to me, what she could do. Oh, does he think that she tried to fix her mom and that that's what killed her? Oh, that would be grisly. You can't possibly be suggesting. This young, sheltered girl had a difficult time distinguishing robots from people. But take a look at PONCO's arm. It was Miss Sykes who bandaged it up like that.
She must have thought that machines heal in the same way that people do. What an adorable, naive mistake. It reminds me of my own grandchild.
No way. I refuse to believe it. Miss Sykes made a childish, naive, and cruel mistake. She thought that if a robot could be dismantled and vanish without a trace...
Prosecutor Edgeworth, if you're about to claim what I think you are, I demand that you word it as delicately as you can.
With all due respect, Your Honor, all I can do is present the truth as it stands. The reason the defendant moved the victim's body to the operating table...
Hold it!
No! Don't say another word! Just stop! Was to dismantle the evidence so that she could get away with her crime. That can't be true! Why do I have PTSD now? Flashbacks to things I didn't even see. Oh.
Order in the court! Order in the court, I say!
Edgeworth. She was just a little kid. How can you say such a horrible thing? Horrible? Like I said, you're just as green as ever. I came here today as a prosecutor to seek only the truth. No more, no less. My theory is simply the result of a rational consideration of every possibility.
Objection!
But dismantling isn't the table's only function. It can make repairs as well. It's conceivable that Miss Sykes moved her mother to the table in order to fix her. I suppose that could be another way of interpreting it. But dismantle or repair, it doesn't matter either way. What do you mean? After murdering her mother, Miss Sykes may have come to her senses. Perhaps she did want to make it appear as if it had never happened. And that's why she tried to repair her mother. Yes, that's one possible explanation. But we mustn't forget the facts of this case. The victim was observed to fall down after being hugged by the defendant, and the body was moved per the defendant's command. These two facts that indicate the defendant's guilt, remain unchanged. This just can't be true.
Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence to refute the prosecution's claim?
Evidence? Right. Let's see. I can't think of any. I'm afraid I don't have any evidence. Since becoming chief prosecutor, I've learned that the truth isn't always pretty. Now accept the truth, Mr. Wright. Your subordinate murdered her own mother. Your Honor, the prosecution demands a verdict. The hostages have suffered enough.
What a terrible and tragic conclusion. If the defense has no counter-argument, I see no need to further prolong this trial.
Edgeworth's argument seems solid enough, but there's no way Athena could have ever done anything like that. What do I do? There has to be something, but I can't think of a single thing.
Objection!
Objection?
What? Blackwell?
Prosecutor Blackwell?
This is quite the farce you are conducting here. I could die from laughter. Prosecutor Blackwell, what are you talking about? What I'm talking about is that your argument is based on an entirely false premise. Go on, we're listening. Could this be the miracle that I need? But what is Prosecutor Blackwell trying to pull here? 7 years. For 7 long years. This case has been on my mind. Not for an instant did I not think of it. I'm the one who killed my mentor, and don't think you can alter that fact now. Your boldness, I will take to the stand, and I won't take no for an answer.
Of course, Prosecutor Blackwell. Please, go ahead.